Okay, guys, you are locked into SpecTalk, the podcast for one percenters. Those of you who are high achievers, entrepreneurs, executive athletes, wanting 1% better every single day. So typically, I talk about health, wellness, and as I'm getting older, with 25 years I'm working on in this industry, I am a lot more inclusive with mental wellness, physical wellness. To me, at this point in my career, it's not just about carbs and cardio, but it's about managing all of the things in life, your family, your business, your career, all of these things, your relationships. And today, we're talking a little bit about business, a lot about resiliency, and coming back from failures with social media, branding, personal brand, the whole 9 yards, strategist, Barion McQueen. I'm so grateful that you bared the traffic down from that crazy place called Fort Lauderdale.
If people would know, these are the things about entrepreneurship people don't see, right?
Tell them all about it.
The drive here, like I come to Miami often, so I always have this 45-minute to an hour clock just that I know, okay, because I got the Tesla, so I can get to ride the 95 Express for free. Cool. The Express is not what Express is anymore. Everybody must have it. And I'm just like, man, I'm looking at, that's why I was like, let me DM her, just let her know, like, I've been on the road. Sometimes it says I'll be there at 9:13. Sometimes it might say 9:30, but I'm en route. Almost 2 hours to get
I can't believe that. I feel bad, but I'm glad.
I'm here, though.
Glad you have
I'm here.
Some bagels and,
yeah,
and coffee.
She fueled me up once I got here, and we ready.
We are ready. And I'm so excited because I love, this is going to sound so corny, but I love talking to people who love to talk. Some people like shy away and they're just like, well, yeah. And when you build a brand and you're trying to build other people and you're trying to get out there, that is something that, you need to have some sort of personality where you just gel with people and then the conversation is going to go where it goes. And that's what I'm most excited for.
The tough part is like, I always want to lead with some value, and I've done so many that it's like, this got to be different. So I'm like, I have this tennis match in my head of like, all right, if I say this, it's going to lead this way, and I might have talked about that already. So how can I give Christina something nobody's got?
You know what is so funny that you said that, it just sparked in my head, was I see people with a niche that they're talking about the same thing all the time. So let's just say somebody is a protein expert or a muscle building expert. And then they're going to go on like 7 different podcasts and they're basically preaching the same core message. I feel like, I don't know if I do that. So whether you do that, you say the same thing that you've always said, that's like your core thing about your brand or your expertise. Somebody else like me being in fitness and having like the background I have could probably extract some other angles to it. Whereas if you go on, an entrepreneur or a funders and founders podcast, completely different experience, but same message from you.
Yeah. This personal branding thing, I think the core of the message is just to relay when I started the journey, how it's changed everything else around me. So it's like, I was just let me hide behind the logo, just do business, do good business. And that's it. Nobody don't need to know I run it or I own it. As long as it's making money, who cares about who the person behind it is? And then when I started getting in some higher tier circles, they like, Baron, you gotta talk. You gotta get in front of the camera. People will love your personality. They will buy from the person. Even if the product, and by the time they get it, it's bad. If they just was invested in you as the person, you have a lot more success than hiding. So I was like, I knew what it looked like hiding, and I'm like, let me try not hiding, and let's see what the money looks like.
Yeah. Was it a huge difference or it took time?
It's night and day. Now, granted, what people see today, this is 5 years worth of work, though.
Yeah.
Of just figuring out what is this personal branding thing. It's constantly changing. Do you go to content game? Do you do it's a lot, right? So that's the part that I gotta be clear with people. I didn't have the money to go faster, so I had to go slower. It took longer, right? Because I couldn't just pay somebody $30K to make me popping. I had to do just old school research. What are these top performers doing that I'm not doing? And I just kind of followed the blueprint and then put my own little sauce on it. I was following the Gary V's and the Grant Cardones and the Ty Lopez, all these guys that I was always seeing in entrepreneurship. And I'm like, man, let me write down all the things they did, right? They wrote a book. They was a contributor on these big platforms, and they was thought leaders. And I'm like, okay, that's the bare minimum I could do. Let me do that. And then it was just like, okay, but my message is different. I'm a licensed real estate agent. Don't even talk about real estate at all. I just put something on my social the other day, and people was like, oh, you're a realtor? And I'm like, I'm not a realtor. I sell houses when I feel like it, or for friends and family.
Yeah.
Please don't call me a real estate agent. It's just not my thing. But I always have my hands in just pots.
Yeah.
How can I have a pot here, and then maybe all of these seeds will grow up at the same time, and then I could retire type vibe. That's always been my thing. But when I was focusing, I had to focus on one thing, which was the personal branding thing. And since I seen what it did for me, I have to share that with other people.
Yeah. I'm nodding and smiling because when I first moved to Miami, it was like coming off of a college strength coach position, and I was ready. At that time, certain incidents transpired after me just kind of thinking, oh, I kind of want more and different. And then when certain things happen, it's like the thing that pushes you off the ledge to finally make the move. And so that's how it transpired. And then I got here, and I just had time off. Like, I sold my house. I made like, I don't know, like $70,000 something. So I'm like, you know what? That'll be my salary. I'll chill for a couple months and like see people, meet people. So I was going to all these meetups. I was going to meetups for things I didn't even know anything about, like sales funnels. I didn't know what a sales funnel about, but I'm watching this guy on the whiteboard in the middle of WeWork talking about sales funnels. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool.
Wow.
And I met some, like, I would just do anything and everything just to get out with all my free time. And I was exposed to all these things. So then what ends up happening is that I've always had analysis paralysis. But like when you said hands in a lot of pots, like, well, okay, I got to do something with this, because how can you have a lot of friends in a lot of places and then you don't have a streamlined vision of what's going to be your thing?
Correct.
And I feel like it's a very interesting topic to talk to you about personal branding and streamlining that, because I think a lot of people, whether it's in a health journey, whether it's in balancing their health journey with their work-life balance, or even just in entrepreneurship alone, there's a million things. Like some people can get hung up on an email campaign when really they're not doing any sort of sales training, and then they're not doing any sort of lead magnets, and then they don't have an email list to begin with. And then you're focused on the minutia as opposed to, now what I'm doing in my leadership training is focusing on ways of being. Because I was a doer. But then I was like, I'm doing in every single pot, and I don't know what I have, but a bunch of different pots.
Yeah.
And then you realize, maybe at some point because now you know branding, right? You could brand any one of your pots and have it expand and explode, and then you can have multiple streams of revenue. Yeah. But your baby is the branding, like to help other people. So you found your focus.
I would tell anybody, a college student, anybody that's going to do anything, just take a little marketing course. Eventually, you will be able to use something from it, whether you start your own business, whether you work for a company. Just take a little marketing course to just understand marketing a little bit, because that's where I started. I transitioned from marketing to personal branding, but because I knew marketing first, it didn't matter which business I went to go try, because I understood that they all gonna need marketing. So it was a lot easier for me to start new things all the time because I knew how to market it just from having that background. So I have an interior design company nobody knows about. I have a real estate photography company, just these things. But because I understood marketing, the barrier to entry was really low, man. I could start a business with $500, and that's just getting a GoDaddy, getting a site up, and let's go find customers, right? So because I understood marketing, it made me, my wife thinks I have an addiction to starting businesses, right? So in 2023, because I had all of these pots going, it was necessary for me to let the steam simmer down and just focus, because I was just like, oh, I was getting money here, and then somebody just paid me $300 to notarize a loan, and I'm like, oh, should I double down on my notary? But like, it was just so much that I was like, no, I can't run like this. I love the opportunity to wake up and be a new person every day. That was fun. It was just like I'm looping or something. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna be today. Today I'm gonna be a real estate agent. Today I'm gonna be the marketing guy. Today I'm gonna go act like I'm this interior designer. Like, it was fun for me because every day wasn't the same like that. Go to work, the routine of it, hated that. So I was just like, but when I was dedicating time to one thing, something else was slacking. So I was just like, I gotta really focus.
So at some point you felt like you needed some continuity. You needed to, because I see this. Of course, I'm always going back to fitness. I see this with people. Oh, 1 week they're going to do keto, and then the next week they're going to go and eat pasta, and then next week they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go drink now, and the next week they're going to do CrossFit, and I'm like, when I met with Gary Vee, he came down here for Art Basel, and I found out that he was coming because I'm in his like text group. I'm like, oh my God, he was at Strawberry Moon right down the road from me. So I text Marvel, right? I'm like, what are you doing today? And he comes with me, and we get to talk to him for a few minutes. Every one of us, he's super nice, and he knew what I looked like, and he's like, you clearly did it in fitness. Like, if you take the same principles, go all in entrepreneurship, it's the same thing. He just admitted he did it backwards. Not backwards, but opposite. He said, I've doubled down on my business, and now I just started working out a few years ago.
Yeah.
But his focus is different. Like, I had to go all in because I wanted to be the utmost leanest I could and step on stage to prove to myself, even though people think we try to prove it to other people. It's really a journey for ourselves. But he's like, I'm doing this now for when I age. Like, I just want to be a healthy, like, 90-year-old kind of thing. So it's interesting to see how it's so much the same because people hop from thing to thing and then never feel fulfilled.
Correct.
And when you look at somebody as a potential client in personal branding, because I'll do the same thing when I look at somebody as a prospect or a client in fitness and I hear everything they've tried. And I'm like, have you ever tried anything long enough to see if it like works, fits your lifestyle, feels authentic to you?
Yeah.
When people try keto for 2 weeks, well, that's great. Yeah, you're going to drop a lot of water weight, probably a little bit of fat. But other than that, like, now you want a cupcake. How does this fit into your life? And so I would imagine consulting with personal branding is the same way. Like even me, when I left Purdue, I was in full force athletic performance.
Got it.
But I always had Pilates and massage and group fitness on the background. So when I decided I want to do online coaching, I'm like, well, I know what it's like to be a strength coach at a high school and a college. I'm not going to market to kids online because I have to coach speed drills, and that's kind of weird on video. And so then I was like, well, maybe I want to work with women. Maybe I want to work with men. I think I want to work with bodybuilders. Maybe I want to work with entrepreneurs. And so the personal branding just kind of blew up to be like, who the hell am I? The same way I see people with diets and frustrations of never really sticking with something to see how it works. So I know what I would tell somebody from the health side, but what would you tell somebody that, you know, they have too many pots, but it's conflicting? It's different than if you have like, oh, well, you know, I have a clothing store online and then I have, you know, a photography agency and business.
Yeah, they work together.
Yeah, and things like that. But then if you're just like, okay, well, what do you tell people when they just come to you fragmented?
Yeah. For me, I'm my own case study for any person, any client that I have, because I've been there. So there's a trust that I build with people because they like, oh, he's really empathetic because he actually had the same issue, right? I never like to hide the struggles and stuff like that because people resonate with it. I always tell people though now, and this is now in 2024, I had to let some businesses go to focus, right? I thought I could do it all. Like I'm the superhero that I can just burning out, never had gray hairs until I did entrepreneurship. All of these things start happening. And I'm like, you know what? Let me focus on getting really good at this personal branding thing. And then when it gets where I need it to be, then maybe I can, but I haven't even hit my goal in this yet to be trying to add all of this new stuff that's going to slow me down from getting to the main goal. So that's what I would tell people. I'm saying, hey, look, what's the goal? What do you want to be known for? Like we talked before this, I don't want to be the expert no more because personal branding consistently changes. So if I say I'm the expert, that means whatever came out yesterday, I'm the expert at it. That's why I don't like social media. Look at all the AI experts now. And it's like,
and it's so new.
It's brand new.
How are you you're only an expert at the limited knowledge that we have right now because last year it decided to explode, even though it's probably been around forever.
Yeah. Now, if you tell
under the radar,
I've been working for OpenAI and ChatGPT for the past 15 years. Okay, now I believe you might be an AI expert. Right. But that's the thing. It's like, that's why I'm cringy with the term expert now, because things change. If you do photography, if you were somebody that did photography when you had to go in the black room and hang this stuff, well, are you really an expert now? Because photography has changed.
Right.
So I like strategists because I'm still always trying to figure it out. It's always something to learn. So I like the term strategist better. And that's the same thing when I'm dealing with people. I don't have a cookie cutter approach to people's personal brand. Some people I could just say, you're not even ready for PR yet. And I could be honest with people. I don't want to take nobody's money when I know they're not ready.
Right.
Why would I tell you, this is a 3 to 5K retainer to get you where you need to be, but you're not ready for that. It's a build up to doing this PR thing. Like, I have a client, the first day she met me, she's like, I want to be on those big shows like Ellen. Ellen, did you do the local news first? In your little town, the Pittsburgh Post or whatever, your local? Let's start there and maybe we can work up to Ellen. Because this stuff is intimidating to people. And it looks beautiful online and it looks like, oh, anybody can do it. It's something about being under lights, especially when you got an audience, you got cameramen, you're the focus. For me, I've been around this since 14, so it's natural for me. It's just like, this has been my life. But for most people, you have to train just the media training aspect of working on the personal brand. And I think like everybody watches so much stuff online that they like, oh, I can't say and I can't have these filler words when I talk. And I'm like, why not? That's human.
I think we've gotten away from that perfect language.
Really?
Like,
I hope.
Because I say like way too much. And then I watch my own reels. I'm like, you just said like about 16 times in a minute and a half. But I think that because we've even become so casual with our conversation that even work emails look like just a casual conversation.
Oh, a bunch of LOLs and YOs and acronyms. It's
so weird. And you know what? I'm in this leadership training right now where there's a way that you address certain things.
Correct.
That I'm like still like, get off your high horse. Like in my back of my mind, I'm like, okay, but there is a professional way to convey a message.
Right.
To say, like, one of the terminologies that I've never understood, because I just, I either care about somebody or I don't, but if I'm holding space for you, what the fuck does that mean? So there's some terminology like, well, can you hold space? Or like in the business world, let's have a clearing conversation about what happened at the meeting. I'm not that person.
Oh, wow.
I'm not South Philly Italian. It's like, okay, what happened here? All right, no problem. Like, but I realize that from a communication standpoint, even with podcasting, or even if I look at captioning a clip, and I'm like, yo, your language was all over the place. But then when you watch it, people get it because they're listening to you talk, and that's the brand. I've been blessed with the opportunity to kind of feel like I think on the fly. So, like, I don't really think that I sound awful, but I'm pretty sure, like, if I was speaking on stage, I would need some training.
Okay.
But in general, I was never afraid to have a conversation or even pretend I was having a conversation with myself.
Yeah.
Because I know what I know, and when I know it, I could film reels without any mistakes or edits a lot of times, which makes my life easy on the back end. But when I thought about, oh, well, you can't. You have to be perfect.
So
it could get overwhelming.
What you just said right there is what I struggle with clients, right?
Like they don't know how to just speak off the cuff and make it sound natural.
My sister has this term for me, and she says, "Yo, you're a unicorn amongst horses."
Ooh.
You think your way is the standard, and that everybody should play at that level, and everybody's not always there.
I can actually resonate with that.
Right? So what me and you do in this, like when I go on stage, I've never been prepared for a TED Talk, none of that. No cue cards, no outline, because I'm a guy that I got to feel the moment.
Yeah.
And something could have just happened in the audience that I got to make this so interactive that I have to address that right there. And if I was memorized this speech all week and been in the mirror practicing, that's not my, people that know me know that's not even me at all.
That's incredible, because that's how I've always felt. Like if I've done talks on like national conference talks, like I would have PowerPoint things I wanted to hit.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be up there reading it.
Yeah,
That's just for the audience to see.
But do you ever find that now I'm like, I feel like we're putting ourselves on this pedestal, but it's okay if we live there, we just might as well own it. But do you ever find yourself getting so bored when someone cannot deliver the way you want to receive it because you think everybody should be highly conversational and articulate, and they're literally reading from the slide, and then it's monotone, and then you're just
cringy.
I'm the worst critic, and I feel bad.
I went to the Digital Marketing World Forum, which was in Fort Lauderdale, and I mean the biggest companies: Duracell battery, Google, Adobe, like big companies. And I'm looking at the representatives that they sent for the companies. I'm supposed to be there learning about digital marketing. And I'm literally picking apart every speaker's, oh, this guy was reading too much off the slide. Like the slide is for the audience. It's like he didn't know what was on the slide and he's just reading it to us with his clicker. He's like, here. I'm like, oh my God. So I was just like, it was so cringy that when one good speaker stood up, shout out to Michelle Fino. I will never forget this lady. She was engaging. She was humorous. She just had it. And I'm like, oh, that's why she stands out. Because you could tell she didn't rehearse. She didn't prep. It was just off the cuff, free flowing. And the conversation went where it was supposed to go. And I think that's the ability that when we're unicorns, like you're a unicorn too, amongst horses, right? It's tough to understand that what we are is not the standard. And that took me a really long time. So when I say stuff to people, sometimes I have to understand, well, Barion, because maybe you got marketing experience or you can do stuff really quick, it's not that easy for everybody. And I'm just like, oh, we all got the same 24 hours in a day. Why, if I could do it, why couldn't? And that's my sister's like, unicorns among horses. You have to bring it. Everybody don't have it. And once I started thinking about that, I slowed down and have a little more empathy that some people just don't have the information or just don't know. So I have to be like, oh, okay, cool. You don't even know how to use something that I would think you would know, but they just don't know. So you're a unicorn amongst horses too.
I look at that as like, okay, everybody wants a blueprint. And I think now it's like light bulbs are going off. I'm having this realization of me personally branding. You know how some people say, just pulling anything out of the air, I help moms wear the red dress again through the keto diet and self-love or something. Like they said this really elaborate I help thing. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I could help men too. And I could help athletes. And I could help entrepreneurs. And I could help fitness competitors. And I could help dog moms. I don't sit there and say I only help so I just tried to help everybody or helped nobody. And I'm like, well, Christina, you really got to pick somebody. But I find it really interesting that like in terms of personal branding, I felt like I was going to give myself a really like internal disservice and feel like a caged unicorn if I said I teach office moms how to do macros and eat a cheat meal, like things that are simple that I would think, well, do you not know what protein is? Like some people don't really realize like that joke is butter a carb. Yeah, people really don't know this. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. So a friend of mine who was always into like digital marketing and all these things, he's like a laptop lifestyle guy, like out in Bali, just living the life, doing whatever.
That's where I'm headed.
And he said to me years ago, we met at one of those random networking events where I just showed up, didn't know anybody, didn't know the topic. I'm just like, we've been friends for 5 years because of that event. And he says, you have forgotten. You've been in this field so long. You've forgotten way more than these people half your age even know, let alone how many years of life they have. But they're like, whatever. He would just try to get under my skin. They're richer than you because they execute better. I'm like, because I was getting caught up at, well, my branding is I'm a college strength coach and I'm a badass. And I speak on national stages. But that's intimidating to the lady who just needs to know, okay, let's just eat one less slice of pizza. So I was like, well, how am I going to dumb myself down to this shit? He's like, do you realize the lady, he says this to me, do you realize the lady that just wants to lose some arm fat is in more abundance than the elite 1% that you're targeting? You're going to be able to sell a lot more to the office lady that wants to lose her arm fat.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's social media, but I think people, once they learn the word niche, I believe there's a such thing as niching down too much.
That's what I always struggle with. And people, so do you know my original business coach, Brandon Carter? Do you know Brandon Carter?
I know the names.
You know, he's like super famous. He used to say this thing. I tell everybody this. He goes, "Don't be a whore trainer. It's not like I'll do whatever, daddy, love you long time." He's like, pick a niche. Yeah. Well, that I understand. What's the age? What's the gender? You know, what is the mechanism that you use? But I still felt like I struggled with that. I was like, I've known this for the last 5 years. Like,
that's why personal branding has been the savior for me.
Because now you can get somebody that comes to you. Well, I have a hair salon, and you can extract the branding out of a hair salon, but you don't have to be a hair specialist.
Correct.
But you could work with real estate agents too, because you have that background.
And it's like, if I was to say, I'm a personal branding strategist, but I only work with C-suite executives, or I only do. Why? Everybody needs this. Mm-hmm. I was just a regular guy doing this for myself. That I wasn't making 6 figures a month or whatever these catch phrases are, turn 6 figures, and I watch all the little YouTube commercials that pop
soapbox
up.
On that.
But it's like, no, I was just a guy that just did the work. So as a PR agency, right, I tell people, why don't you try doing it yourself before you pay me?
It like their own PR?
Do your own PR.
Like get out there in front of people and contact people?
I literally wrote an ebook that I was basically, it was $9, but I was just giving it away. Like at this point, it's like, look, you can't pay my $3,000, $5,000, or $10,000 retainer. If you don't have $9 to just do this and start today,
yeah,
you don't. And all the PR companies was just like, why would he, as a PR agency, be giving them?
Because they know,
like a DIY
people will not take action to the effective level as if they had somebody. Like, so for example, I could do the same thing, and I've thought about this. I wrote books, not books, but like guides on how to calculate your macros, and I never released them as a lead magnet because I was like, well, why the hell would they need me? Which is kind of the wrong mindset. You should put it out there. But at the end of the day, the person who can afford you and wants you to walk the journey with them, my thought process has changed. They will hire you anyway.
Correct.
As opposed to, well, yeah, I mean, I say this to people all the time. If you want to use the money card or the whatever racket that you have about why you're not going to get what you need, guess what? YouTube's been free for a really long time, and now it's infiltrated with so much. All you need is a good search skill to put it in the bar and figure it out, and then do that. Yeah. And do that until you get results. Yeah. One of my coaches said, focus, follow one course until success. So I'm like, okay, that's the theme of 2024 because, my brain is scattered all over the place. But I would challenge and say you are not in a first world country with a lack of resources. You just lack resourcefulness. So if they can't use your ebook and at least make a little bit or at least familiarize, it's almost like you're setting out course prerequisites, right? To work with me, you have to successfully buy and do the ebook and let me know where you started, where you. I might have to do that.
That's it. Because think about this, like. My new thing for like everybody asks me, hey, Barion, well, do you do mentorship and do you do coaching? And it's like, nah, I don't have enough for me to go around to like do that. So I never went the coach route. I never went the mentor route. What I will say, people, because they ask me, hey, is mentors a good thing? In this entrepreneurship space, we are surrounded by so much fluff and
That's what I wanted to get into.
And so much lifestyle marketing that I would encourage anybody thinking about working with a mentor, ask to see the money they've made. And then you make a decision. If I can't pull out what I've made off PR or personal branding and show it to you and say, hey, okay, we only did 15K this month or we only did 10K this month. I don't have a problem showing that to people because the other people aren't doing it. Everybody just get a little bit of information and now they the expert. Saw somebody do something once, now they the expert. Never made a penny yet, but they got a course.
It's the marketing of this idea and the facade that's selling more of the courses that really. So here's what I'm finding. How do I say this in a nice way? I'm just gonna go there. There are people that I have to either block, unfollow, like mute, like tell people don't send me their shit kind of thing, because I know full well there is no way that they own that house, they own all those cars, knowing that their coaching program sucks. It's overpriced. Like I don't have money issues, but when someone's charging 15, 20K for some bullshit, I'm not paying 20K to make me do burpees. Like, come on now. You can do burpees for free and just do enough till you lose weight. Like, if that's the way you want to do it. Like, I'm not paying somebody $15,000 or $20,000 to tell me to post 3 times a day on social media and do 100 burpees before 3 a.m. Like, just go. Like, but the branding of that particular person in mind for me is a representative of the, how do I say that? The lesser human who needs that discipline, when really there is no secret sauce. Like, their secret sauce is generic. You could talk to, for example, business coaches, business and fitness coaches. What is the core of business and fitness coaching? Well, business, know who you are and what you're providing them. Reach out to make sure people know who you are. Have an offer. Sell the shit. Okay, that's the simple on business. Fitness, work out, burn more calories than you're eating, eat well. Preserve as much muscle as you can. Sleep, drink water. Done. Like, if you do something right that's different than what you're doing, you're going to lose weight or change your body. Same thing with your business. If you just make an offer, you'll probably make more money than last month. The fluff that you alluded to is what I am having a really, really hard time with online, because I've been doing this for 25 years. I've stepped on stage at 8% body fat. I've been on the board to write the test questions for the national exam for the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Like, I've been places where you can't be a slouch to, be. I worked with the NFL, like all of that stuff. Yet, I'll look at the promise that all these other fitness people make, and I'm like, wait a minute, because social media doesn't really distinguish. They think I'm that. And they think that I should be selling them an ebook that's going to change their life in 90 days. But then they're just going to kind of I've given away free things. Nobody does anything. I've had challenges where people were like winning stuff. I'm like, oh, how'd you like the ebook? Oh, it's still in my inbox. Oh, okay. But you wanted to lose weight, right?
See, I don't like, the thing I struggle with is I don't like the people who sell the business of the business and don't do the business, right?
That's the thing.
They're going to make more money off the sell of teaching you how to when they still don't even do. That's like me coming out with a book right now and saying I can make sure you can be the millionaire realtor. And I can teach you and show you and this. But I don't even do real estate right now. So the business of
nobody's
selling.
Nobody's going to ask you, right?
Never.
They're just going to trust you blindly because it's social media.
Never. Nobody asks for the receipts.
The thing in the fitness world that bothers me is that people will doctor photos. That's the most disingenuous thing. And I think one of the things in the fitness world when you have to brand yourself and then have social proof, so they say, is you need your testimonials. A lot of the times I'm noticing, like, my clients, and this is no disrespect to them, but, like, I'm not getting copious amounts of massive fat to fit shredded testimonials because, and it could be my fault in the way I'm doing my marketing, but the people that I'm working with are happy. Like, they don't have to be shredded to be happy. They're happy that, okay, the real issue was how they felt about themselves and how they felt about the process. If they're enjoying the process, they're happy and they're repeat paying me.
Correct.
If they think this is a 12-week program and then they think it's going to be this crescendo of a result and they're disappointed because they didn't go all in, then I'm like term life insurance instead of like a long-term policy. And that's the thing that, I also, with that being said, I also agree with one of my friends' mindsets. You should be able to fire me. What that means is I should be able to give you the skills that you need to eat well, maintain a lifestyle with your family. Like, this isn't The Biggest Loser. This isn't fat camp. I'm not pulling you away from reality, making you lose 200, 300 pounds, and then putting you back into the wild where you have no skills. Some people take longer than others. So would I like to have a client for 2-3 years? Yeah. But if you really can master this in 3 to 6 months, then you should probably fire me because you have the skills to the level that you wanted to get to. So it's an interesting take because everybody wants repeat customers.
Of course.
But then we know that people evolve and, they grow their wings and they're able to fly and we have to say goodbye.
100%.
I was like that with interns. I remember getting so frustrated when I was young in my position at Purdue and I was in charge of the intern program. And then when we bring in grad assistants, our structure was like they only could stay for 3 years. So every year their salary went up by like $2,000 because they were entry level.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I said to my boss one day, I was like, you know what? This is driving me nuts. I'm spending all this time training these people and then they leave us and we got to start over again. He goes, that's a blessing. You know what the legacy we're leaving? We are literally getting them from the beginning, building them. And then when we made the family tree, all the great places they ended up, our tree is expanding. So you have to be okay with like letting go. But in that instance, my pay didn't change when they left. So I'm like adapting from that kind of environment where, you're going to get paid the same or you have your 3% raise every year to, okay, the amount of people that stay with you or refer people to you directly impacts the quantity of your income.
My agency has the same thing.
Yeah.
The reason my agency has that is because everybody's end goal is Forbes. If we're a PR agency and we're doing PR, everybody wants to get to the point that they're on Forbes. That's like people's milestone when they come to us for PR.
But does that really, I don't want to challenge it and say, does that hold any weight? But do you think that like it really matters? Like I would rather have somebody, perfect example. I'm going to expose myself here. 2 Fridays ago, I had plastic surgery.
Okay.
And I know there's about
exclusive.
I know, right? The people who watch my Instagram might be like, something's different.
Oh shoot!
But it's like if I cover myself up, nobody can see. But of all the people in Miami that are highly well-known boob surgeons,
okay,
I went under the radar. Nobody knows the guy.
Okay.
I was so comfortable, and I had talked to him for the first time at the end of October 22, and I'm like, that's the kind of like. I like the people that are like sleepers, highly effective, amazing at what they do.
Just discreet.
So like, if you're not on Forbes, to me, like that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because chances are, if you're on Forbes or you're on Ellen, you're probably hard to reach, which means I won't get you. I'll get your associate, and then I'll be paying out the wazoo to just have about 2 minutes with you because you're too busy and you're elevated. Like it's kind of crazy how like. Every time I've had a business coach that was reachable, or in this case, the surgeon with like an amazing experience, meticulous at his craft, but he doesn't care about clout. Whereas some surgeons around here, they're on television shows, racking up lawsuits, and it's like, I don't want that person. Yeah. You think I want that person that I can't go back to next week to look at my progress?
Yeah. And that's the tricky balance with personal branding, right? I've been very well at doing really well growing my personal brand, but so grounded that I'm not unreachable.
Right. But do you feel, because this is great for people who want to understand business, do you feel that at some point like you're going to feel like, okay, that's going to limit my income, I'm going to need to multiply in some way and be a little bit less available? Or are you like, you know what, that's not why I'm doing this in the first place? Yeah, I want to do well. Because I actually saw a question on Facebook that popped up. Somebody asked this question about making $10 million and having like work-life balance. And a lot of people in the comments were like, I don't need to make $10 million. I value my family. Like, I'm not that greedy. Whereas some people are like, well, why not 100 million? Yeah. Why not $1 billion? I think it depends on the person that you are.
Yeah,
I think it impacts how you service people too.
Yeah, at what point is enough, right? So For me, my measure of success has never been 10 million is the goal, right? My measure of success has been, can I wake up and do whatever I want? Do I go to the grocery store and not price
Which
check?
Is financial freedom, but it doesn't have to mean like
it's not
F
$1.
you money. I'm going to wipe my butt with hundreds.
It's never been the goal for me. So it's always, I think that's a little bit what's helped me stay grounded. Now, granted, is my schedule crazy? It is. Do some people have to go through Brooke, my assistant? Yes. Why? Because I can't do everything, right? I used to be a solopreneur is what I like to tell people. And people are like, well, what's the difference? This entrepreneurship term is thrown around so much. When I got around some real entrepreneurs that was like dealing with payroll and health insurance I'm like,
oh yeah, you need departments.
I'm like, oh no, I'm definitely a solopreneur because that's too much work. That's extra pressure. Now that I have a team of 6 now, and just having a team of 6 from a year or two ago was just me. And all I had to worry about was me. And I was eating good and my wife was eating good and that was it. Well, now I'm responsible for other people's livelihood
It's a whole nother level of stress.
That's when I'm like, oh, this is why people stay solopreneurs, is because this entrepreneurship thing is different. Yeah. I'm getting different people's problems now that they're looking for me to fix. And I'm having conversations that I don't want to know about what's going on in other people's houses. And they're like, hey, Barion, how can I make more money? I got this situation, or I got this, or I got child support. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just used to just have to worry about me. Mm-hmm. So it's a different pressure. I've made less money growing the company. Mm-hmm. I made more money when I was just me.
And that's something I've heard people say, like they could drive better cars or they could buy a house, but they chose to reinvest in their business because there's a greater vision. So maybe that's what it comes down to. Yeah. The vision, like, can you have the Hyundai or the Honda? Do you really have to have the Rolls right now? Yeah. Kind of thing.
I hate that lifestyle marketing is such a big thing.
I struggled with that when I first moved to Miami. I almost got sucked in because when I first got to Miami, I searched everything Miami and fitness. And I would run into people who, you know damn well they're not fitness people. They're sugar babies with plastic surgery with a booty band doing squats. They are not a fitness professional to the level that I have been in the weeds and all of the details about what I can do for people. And so I looked at the lifestyle and I'm thinking, I don't look like that. Like, I can't just do like jumping jacks in a thong on the beach. Like, I don't look like that. Meanwhile, these people are getting all these hits, but I'm like, well, wait a minute. When I started thinking about it, what's monetizable? Maybe she's monetizing her sugar daddy or her OnlyFans. Like, but that is not fitness. I can tell you that is not fitness. And the lifestyle marketing, for me, making the transition, I think that it affected my self-esteem a little bit. Because you think that's what people want to see. Correct. And you think that this perfectly curated feed of this perfect color scheme, and it helps when I like subscribe to that. It does look kind of nice, like it's Martha Stewart took over your page or something. Yeah. But that's not realistic. And then you look at people who are otherwise messy, like Gary Vee. You don't give a shit. He's in the middle of a subway talking, and he's getting like 3 million views. Yeah. Because the quality over the visual.
And that's the part about when I tell people when it comes to this personal branding thing. If it's something that you just do normally, that's the brand. People associate just normal with me. Like my personal brand and my regular life are it's like the same. Yeah. There's no difference. My feed is curated from an aesthetic point, but the content, on the way here, I was about to make a video about this Miami traffic. Just like, but I love the ability that I can do that with my audience. That this has nothing to do with personal branding. This is welcome to Miami, what you gotta do if you try and go somewhere in the morning, right? But that's the human element that makes people like, oh, you know, he's normal. He's just a regular guy. Like what we see on social media is cool, the views and all of that. But he's normal. He's approachable. If I get off stage, people not scared to speak to me and pick my brain when I get off of a stage. It's literally a line of people. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, what you said. And then it's like, yo, people always, how can I get it? I will literally put my personal number in people's phone. Some of them still never use it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I've seen this happen recently. Like some people that you talk to, they say, well, you only talk, like for me, I have an app for my clients. Only talk to your clients through the app. Yeah. For me, that just keeps it streamlined. So
of course,
I don't get text messages about like their blood work or something, and it keeps it in one place. But a lot of people, I've heard this from a mentor before, the mystique. Like you got that barrier. I don't know if that's like in fitness coaching, and if you have I don't know. I get a lot of questions. Diarrhea. I got to go. What do I do? I'm like, well, what would you do if I was? I got to think, what would you do if I wasn't here? Like, I'm not the doctor, but the support that someone feels in a vulnerable state when they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to hit my fitness goal because I can't work out because I have diarrhea and I can't keep food down. That connection, if you can talk to somebody and not
change
have that
mystique,
do I want to be a YouTube star with mystique? And have somebody that you don't know talking to you under my name, under my app, or do you want it to be me?
Yeah.
And as I build my own personal comfort, like with what brand I am, and knowing like, okay, if I ever had to get that big and like go that route, it would be known, well, okay, now you're going to work with assistant so-and-so
Yeah.
if I ever have to go that route in the future. But I thought about the whole branding and like, oh, okay, you're going to have this barrier, this mystique. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that.
Imagine you rewarding those though with the access, right? That's
another level of access, right?
Right. So for me, it's like I can't. Everybody, I get text messages from people that I've met at a conference randomly in Dallas because I put my number in their phone.
Do you think that like people actually having your personal phone number is just not as dangerous or detrimental as people think?
No, I think people just have this thing of like, it's what I would. So I used to have a lot of clients in the music industry, right? Every musician wants a manager.
To have the barrier, right? And the mystique.
Right? And at the end of the day, I've literally had artists come up to me and is like, Barion, do you manage music artists? Absolutely not. Because what you really want is a financial investor, a secretary, a manager, an admin person, executive assistant. That's what you want. But people have to have this facade of like, if I say I have management,
it makes you sound bigger than you are.
It makes me sound bigger than what I am.
So basically, you are your business. Like, I am my business.
Yeah. So until you making enough, I have people, I'm like, so if as your manager, what would I be managing? And they're like, like getting me shows and bookings. So you need a booking agent. You don't need a manager. Oh, just like get me featured in it. So you need a publicist. You don't need a manager.
So they think a manager is a jack of all trades.
That's it. They just want somebody to do the work for them, and they sit back and be the talent.
Yeah.
It's like, no, if you're in the music or you in any creative space, you're an entrepreneur. And you got to figure it out like any other business. How do I generate income? Straight up. The arts and most people that's the most successful in music have a work ethic that's don't even matter about the product sometimes. Like I listen to like any of these like people I used to listen to in hip hop, and people used to clown Soulja Boy a lot. And I'm like, his music was terrible. It never got better over the years. Never got better. But his marketing was so genius, and his
what made
work
him different?
ethic. Well, he was the first artist that started putting vlogs on YouTube.
Oh.
Nobody gives him credit for his marketing genius. When people like back then, what was the thing? Like Napster or all right.
MySpace.
Those days, right? He was so smart using the computer. Whatever the new album was, he would name his song the name of the new album and would get people to listen to his music. He was just tricking the algorithm. If 50 Cent put a new album out, he would put new 50 Cent song such and such. And he would rack up all of these views because he thought people was looking for that.
So that his little file of his song on Napster would be his decoy name.
Killing it. And he was just a good marketer. And that's why he had success. It was never that the music was good.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people about the music business. If you can get the business part right, the music is the 10%.
That's what I see in fitness. Like, I could sit here, and if you said, I'm a young trainer, can you dissect my program? Okay. Yeah, I could do that. But the question would be, on a deeper level, what is the situation you're working with? I can't criticize this layout if I don't have context. Which is not the way society works. Society goes and says, well, this is what it looks like, so that's what you're getting, and this is what's good. As opposed to, well, wait, there's context. So I see that with fitness, like they're so good at marketing, but I've done it. I've bought these things just because I wanted to do market research, and I'm like, this shit sucks. Like, oh, custom meal plan? Okay, give me my custom meal plan. 3 almonds. 3 ounces of chicken. I'm like, bitch, I'm hungry. Like, did you even look at my height, weight, and photos?
Yeah.
So it's not custom at all.
Yeah.
And the next, so it was like a challenge I joined just for like, for fun. And I was like, okay, let me see this. So halfway through, I got updated meal plan, and I'm like, bitch, I'm still hungry. Like, you didn't see my pictures.
Yeah.
And you didn't see that I actually gained weight on purpose because I didn't follow the first meal plan. So there was nothing custom about it. But it's the thing, like what you said earlier. If you just do it, something's going to work. This specific person I have in mind with this specific program, she's got tons of people as fans, super fans, because she's adorable. And I mean, I like her as a person. She lives here in Miami too. But I'm like, you know damn well, you got 2 million followers. You are not customizing. Even if you monetize your program at 5% of your audience, that's too many damn people for you.
Agreed.
You know you're not doing it.
Agreed.
And I know it's not custom.
Yeah.
So the fact that people are probably underfed and just going all ham on their workouts because they love her and they want to win some prize at the end of the 7 weeks or whatever it is, they're getting results. And then they just keep doing more challenges. But from a person who's like a seasoned strength coach who wants to customize your experience to optimize how you live, I'm like, hell, you're going to fall off the wagon at some point, or you're just not going to progress. How much weight could you lose? How skinny could you get?
Do you think people never want to be considered fans and rather will be considered clients?
I wonder that thing, because like I have clients, like I talk to them almost every day, if not multiple times a day, and I navigate their issues. And I kind of like that. I like being a problem solver. But could I do that for 60,000 people? No. And so at that point, I feel like, well, they're a customer. They're not really a client, because I can't. If I charge you $7 a month to just have app access, I don't know what the hell's going on with you. It's at your own risk. You just round robin, whatever. And I've done the market research. I've been in Facebook groups with people who just buy an app, because I bought the app. I still buy apps like that just because of whatever, for fun. And I see that they have the same questions. It's been a year. You haven't lost weight. You don't know how to read the nutrition guide. You see the nutrition guide. You won't put the work in from the ebook to calculate your own macros, and then you won't actually eat that because it's easier to go to get the Danish. And so, and then on top of that, because I'm meticulous for to actual training techniques, you're not getting the muscle stimulation. You're just going through the motions with the number of reps. Well, the quality matters. And that's where I feel like if you want a specific result, you have to do it a specific way. And that's where like our versions of ebooks can teach you. But unless you, and I'm sure you might find this too, unless you fall in love with that process and really own it, it'll take you so far. And then you need more help. And that's kind of how my journey was when I was in high school. I wanted to just get fit for the prom. Actually, before the prom, I wanted to get fit for tennis because I was really weak.
I know that story now.
But I'm in the gym. Trying to not be weak. Fixing the things that hurt because I was playing tennis hours every day and my body wasn't prepared. Then, okay, well, my whole situation with wanting to get in shape for the prom. And then, okay, then I dove a little deeper in college and I fell in love. I tested my own version of what I thought nutrition programs for bodybuilding was before bodybuilding was even on my radar, because I spent time reading the magazines and going to the nutrition store, and every single person at GNC, I got asked the same question to about 16 different people because I wanted to see their take on protein. I didn't even have a certification yet. So I get it. Like, not everybody has that, which is why you pay for speed if you can.
If you can.
If not, you got to go the ebook route and actually love it and make the result happen.
I met a guy, and I hate to use the word fan because I think people are embarrassed to say they're a fan of someone. Now it's this weird thing. Like, people is like, if you're in the music or entertainment space, you're just a fan of people.
Right.
I don't think people like to be labeled as a fan of people. The reason it's weird is because I have fans. I can honestly say I have fans. The reason I can say I have fans is because people will like and buy and do all of these things just because they're a fan of me, but they never even consume the content. Like, I'll ask questions on purpose. Say, yo, so when you bought my book, because I stopped putting my stuff on platforms where I can't track data. So if you buy a book from me, you bought it directly from my site.
Right.
So I know where you live, your email address, your phone number. So I have an engaged audience that I can text somebody and say, Merry Christmas. I can send that to everybody who ever bought a book from me. I can send something to their house just randomly because I have the data. So when I have this club on Ultraviolet where it's just like, these people pay like a $9.99 subscription or whatever. And I just give them value. Sometimes I get invited to some dope events. I'll pick one person to take with me and just an experience, right? So I ask questions that I'm like, had you read this book, you would know the answer to that question.
Like the teacher with the book report?
Yes. Had you watched this podcast episode, you would know the answer to that question. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I just have a lot of fans. These
Versus
may
paying
not be
customers.
my customers.
Mm.
Which is why, if you see my socials, I've slowed down a lot on Instagram for that reason. I have fans that do not translate to customers. They just like to consume content or like the way I talk or whatever. To just this of Barion McQueen, but they're not my target audience as far as people I need to help with personal branding, which is why I started doubling down on LinkedIn, because I'm like, oh, I have an audience on Instagram, but that's all it was an audience.
Yeah.
They wasn't buying. They like, hey, man, if I come to Miami, will we be able to hang out?
Time is money when you're an entrepreneur.
You feel me? And I'm like,
I got a link for that.
so that was what I had to come to the realization. I'm a fan of people, musicians, actresses. I'm a big J-Lo fan, and my wife lets me get a pass on that. Like, she knows J-Lo. I see J-Lo at the Apple store, and I guess who's at the Apple store in Aventura Mall? And she's like, behave type thing, right? But I give her a pass for the guy that played Aquaman. She likes that guy. I know she likes that guy. What's the guy name? What's his name?
I don't know.
Or like an Australian.
I like Thor. It's not the same
okay.
guy, right?
No, I
Chris
forget this
Hemsworth?
guy. But it's the guy that played Aquaman. I feel like he's like Australian or something. But he got long hair. He's got blue eyes. That's her. I'm like, if I get J-Lo, I'll let you have that guy, right? So, but I'm a fan of people. I don't have a problem saying I'm a fan of people or I love your content.
Right.
That's the weirdest thing. Like, in this entrepreneurship space, when I see somebody make really good content, I just share theirs. I don't go remake it
Yeah.
because it has to come from me, right? So, like,
Is that a big mistake that people think that everything has to be their original thought? Because nothing galls me more than somebody repeating something that you know it came directly from somebody else.
Why? Shout out to Mike Schill.
Yeah.
I love Mike Schill's cold calls. His cameraman just turn it on. He just go, right? I had him on my podcast. Mike Schill says some great stuff. Why do I need to go and make the Barion McQueen version of, me and Mike might have had the same thought, but he put the content out first. Let me just share it. It don't take nothing away from me to big him up. He's dope.
Yeah.
Same with JJ and all of these guys that are in this space. I share their stuff all the time. I'm like, oh, that's one less piece of content I had to make. JJ said it perfect here. Share.
Yeah.
But it's this weird thing amongst, like, I don't know if it's this competitive thing, but it's like, yo, imagine we all worked together and we became the board of this.
Yeah.
We setting the standard. We setting what the prices should be so that there's a uniform government of this, that we control the market. Because if this guy over here charges $300 a month for PR, and here I come charge $5K, well, the market's a wild west.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if this guy charges $300, why don't I just try it with him? And if I get some results, well, I just saved myself, you feel me, $2,700 over here. So I feel like every industry, especially when it's like locally based, there got to be some kind of come together, some board of like, yo, let's set, like in the photography space, when I was doing photography. Well, if I charge $300 for a photo shoot, that's 1 hour, 10 to 15 edits, that's my price.
Right.
Well, for the kid who just never shot anybody, got a nice little Sony right out the box, don't even know how to look through the viewfinder, he doing $75 photo shoots. Well, the market's disrupted because nobody's not playing on the same level.
And nobody thinks to ask him the experience.
No.
I've seen that with fitness business coaching. I've been part of a program where back in the day I paid $5K. I'm in it for life. I can go back anytime I want.
Yeah.
I have a friend who has a business coach, remote, $100K for the year. So it's like, what? I hate to be that person because I don't want to ever question anyone's value, but like, what are you paying for?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm learning this. You pay to play. Maybe it's the person you get to be put around. Maybe it's the connections they help you to bridge because they're in a higher space. It's not
100%.
really, the business knowledge is not necessarily different.
It's the resource.
Because the thing I'm learning about myself, especially doing all this emotional intelligence work, like the problem and the solution is me.
Yeah.
Like I know the logistics, it's not the how. The coaches that I have now are trying to break me out of the how. Like you know the how. Just be. Because if you're not being you, the how doesn't matter. Like the how will make sense when you be who you're supposed to be. And I feel like I'm going to start changing my content toward that because I don't know. Do people really want to hear about carbs and cardio again? Like,
I feel like that puts people in this position where they like, you know what? I'm going to get to a point where I know I can't service everybody. So now this is where we get the 1%ers and the super niche down version of like, okay, this is my new target audience. A guy told me, if you send your price to 3 people and they all say yes, you need to increase your price.
So that's okay. That's interesting because here's some fitness, business, whatever research that has been. But again, people with more experience have broken away from this. But baseline, if this was research done by an old business coach that I had, that basically this is the number. It has to end in a 7 because marketing, right? $297 a month is that's the target. That's the market research. That's what the market dictates.
Okay.
But then I'm like, hold up. I have 25 years of experience. The other kid you just told that just walked up off the street, saw your ad, and decided to join the program. He doesn't even know. He doing burpees and flagpoles at the park. He doesn't know he doesn't know nutrition. He doesn't know hormones. He doesn't know XYZ, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, hold up. In order to see that, a lot of these people, that's the middle for coaching, right? That's not even like, oh, my $79 8-week challenge or whatever. So the market is so weird in fitness. And then you get to someone like myself, I would prefer minimum $3,000 a client for the amount I invest in them. But then again, in sales and business, like you have to earn that confidence to do that. You have to show that value because everybody else is undercutting the market. But nobody, my struggle was nobody knows the difference between me and that person just from social media content unless I am so good, which has been, I feel like content is something that evolves. I don't think I've cornered the market on anything at all ever. I'm just kind of just being me and just seeing where the chips fall. But that's one of those numbers that like, okay, that should be acceptable.
I have a comparison that addresses that, right? So people that are in a religious space, right? I've always been under the impression that if you are a pastor or you are a minister, you have been God anointed. There's something, right? God talked to you one time and then there's this thing that have made you God anointed. So I always ask, why is there a seminary school where you can just go to school to be a minister and you come out with a degree and now you can go start a church?
As opposed to like a divine calling.
And
the divine calling toward the seminary?
So it's like, that's what I see in business, right? Am I the expert because I went to a PR and branding school and left with a degree? Or this is 5 years of work on me? We're sitting at this table because of work that I put in on my brand, right? Everything that happens is because of some work was put in. I didn't go to college. I dropped out of University of Delaware. I never finished. And I went with a scholarship. Like, I should have finished. But I was just, it is what it is, right? School was just.
Does anybody who you get results for ask? Because I'm the opposite. College, master's degree, multiple certifications.
Yeah.
Big time jobs.
But that was what you had to do, right? You had to show.
But it doesn't matter for entrepreneurship because when I first moved to Miami, the first job I got as a trainer, and it only lasted a few months because I realized I wanted to do my own thing. It was like, nobody knows you down here. Nobody cares. Go to work. So I'm like, oh, snap. This person's telling me I got to start over because nobody cares. So basically, every single thing in my background, you just said it erased by moving here. Got it. And it wasn't, at the time, I guess I felt some sort of way, but then I realized, no, that's the school of hard knocks. You took a left turn, even though you're in the same industry per se, the online space where nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
That's how come an 18-year-old with a bubble butt and a camera can make more money
Yeah.
without the experience that you have because your master's degree doesn't matter anymore.
None of it. See, we always been conditioned that like, yo, to be the expert or the professional, there has to be some kind of certification attached to it. Like,
Some people still care, but I don't think with the way people market.
This is the thing. I used to be at. I went to University of Delaware for civil engineering, right? I got my job in civil engineering fresh out of during high school. I went through like a co-op program.
Mm-hmm.
I started working at 15. By the time I graduated at high school at 17, I was already working the job that I was going to college for. So here I am at college learning stuff that don't even apply to the industry of engineering anymore or surveying. Like the equipment ain't even the same that they're teaching in school. So I'm by my junior year, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I'm paying all of this money to go to school to get the job I already have. So I go to my boss and I say, if I go get this degree, how much more are you going to pay me per year? 10 grand. It's not worth it.
Right.
The loan is $32K a year.
Yeah.
To go to school. That's with the grant and staying in the state. I'm like, oh, this math don't math. And I quit.
Yeah.
Just like that.
It's good that you decided that early on because you had that mindset to be able to critically think, okay, do I need this?
That piece of paper was only going to make me $10,000 extra a year. I'm like, oh, no. Math's always been my strongest subject. I'm out of here. And then what I realized is like I was in control of hiring new people at the engineering firm. So I would rather take the kid who had 5 years experience, just being in the field, maybe just doing some surveying, than the person that just came out of the school with the degree because he's got no work experience. He got book knowledge that's don't work no more.
Yep.
So it's like, so I'm not a fan of college anymore. Unless you are going for something that you need.
Right, like you need
doctors,
to do it for
lawyers,
doctors, lawyers, yeah.
But if you're going for frog leg science or what, some of these degrees, I'm like, you went to school for what? Don't do it. Go to YouTube University for free.
And go all in.
And my mom's like, you can't keep telling your sister she don't need to go to college. Well, she just likes to cook food. Does she really have to go to college to learn how to cook food? Probably not. She's already good now.
Yeah.
So if she just refines it, maybe she can go a different route. Maybe she want to do fine dining or soul food or whatever. She could just find her niche and it'll be fine.
You know, my nephew did the same thing. He came down here and he stayed the week. And I was like, well, I'll introduce you to people. He wants to be an entrepreneur. I said, what does that mean? I'm like, what do you want to do? I was like, because if I introduce you to people, you better take numbers and you better call them. Yeah. And so, you know, I go to work, like, I would see some clients, and I had a scooter at the time, and I was like, yeah, go putz around on that, just don't fall off and get hurt.
Yeah.
So he goes up to Lincoln Road, and he's shopping, and he's like, I need to be rich. I said, why do you need to be rich? I said, I like to shop. Like, why do you like to shop? He's like, I like expensive things. I'm like, okay, well, what are you passionate about that you think is going to make you rich?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, okay, you got to pick something. What do you on YouTube all day? Looking at drop shipping, automate? Like, what are you looking at? Like, what do you want to do? So, like, months later, my sister's like, oh, you know, he's working at this pizza place. I'm like, you know what? Honestly, that's not a bad thing because if he ever wants to own a restaurant, he's going to start from putting out the forks, washing the dishes, and he'll know everything. I'm like, maybe his entrepreneur self will pay off in 10 years because he's seen the ins and outs of this really nice restaurant. Starting with dishwashing, seating people, and putting forks out because he'll know all those roles. So I wasn't going to knock it because my old self would have been like, well, he needs to go to college. Now I'm like, okay, all those years, yeah, okay, it was great going to frat parties, but I was blessed that I worked while I was in college, so I had the practical experience, but it doesn't prepare you for the entrepreneurship of like, these are the hoops you're going to have to run through. Yeah. And these are the ups and downs that emotionally you need to deal with, which we need to get to that before we finish up. You've had some of that. And I think this is the thing that when you're talking about getting yourself, whether it's your health or your business, to that upper 1% and better every day, you need a level of, I guess, mental sanity or at least resilience as you grow because there are growing pains and there are trials and tribulations. What are some of the things that you learned and how did you get through it?
I used to do this thing where I was like, I needed to find place of peace,
Mm.
like just a calming. Let me just get 10 minutes there in that just place of peace to just be for the moment. I bought my house in Fort Lauderdale. I happen to just be on the water. My place of peace is my backyard.
Nice.
So I would literally leave my phones in the house. I built like this sandbox in my backyard with a little chair. And it's just like, this is my version of putting my feet in the sand.
Nice.
And that was my place of peace. And when I started doing that, it was just like probably what like a cold shower would be to somebody. That was just my thing. Like nobody's bothering me, my phones. Just let me get this 10 to 15 minutes of my place of peace where nobody's bothering me. I'm just outside, feet in the sand. Now the bad part is all the cats in the neighborhood start using that as a litter box.
Oh no.
So I don't use that anymore. But I encourage people to find just something that just lets you disconnect. Even if it's not like you can dedicate a whole hour, just find you a place of peace, whether that's in your car, if it's in the bathroom, whatever the case. That was my thing. It's like, man, I just need to just like no noise, just be in the moment and not have to worry about anything.
Like every day or as many times as needed.
Yeah, it's just like, I need to just, I'm getting overwhelmed. I just need to go to my place of peace real quick.
Because if you don't, that increases not only stress, but you probably will quit.
That's the thing for me. And I think I have this acronym for fear, which is finding excuses and reasons. That's my acronym for fear.
I like that one.
Right? We will find excuses and reasons why we can't do something, why we won't do something, why we won't start something. Finding excuses and reasons, right? And it's 3 reasons. It's the fear of failure. It's the fear of judgment. And then it's the fear of success. I've talked to a lot of people who have this fear of success that's like, I know I'm good at this. I know I can start that. But what happens if it actually works? That will stop people from starting.
It's sad when you have examples of like success gone bad. Like, so for example, I'm not really a fan of much, but I love Britney Spears. Don't shoot me.
Snap.
And so I followed the trauma while it was happening. Like I was like on PerezHilton.com every day through the 2000s watching this. And I'm like, you know what? Can you imagine at 15, 16, you want to be successful. I don't know which version of fear, if at any of those versions went through her mind, but who would have thought that years later she would be shaving her head with an umbrella trying to attack paparazzi that she could essentially die from because they're chasing her and not having any mental peace. So the fear of success, like when I think of that level of success, Michael Jackson, same thing. All these people that just can't get Justin Bieber, all of them.
A lot of childhood stars, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the Macaulay Culkin.
But it's like, what happens when that success goes awry? Half of the battle is fame, right? The fans and the pressure and then the news outlets and all these things. Because what about the people who kind of are like, they're happy with their success, they're grounded, but they're not on that level, but they're not like negative D-list.
Yeah.
That middle ground is like, okay, that's kind of cool because maybe you can be married to a normal person, but you have enough respect. You're good. Yeah, like I see some people around South Beach sometimes that I'm like, I wouldn't have known unless somebody pointed it out. I'm like, oh, look, they can be out in the wild and no one's like bum rushing them. But if that was like, you know, Miley Cyrus or God forbid it was Taylor Swift.
I see Dennis Rodman all the time in Hollywood.
And it's just like chilling.
I was in Hollywood Beach, and I was just walking. Shout out to the taco joint. This is a guy that makes these shrimp tacos that I go just for the tacos, right, at the taco joint. And Dennis Rodman is just sitting there chilling. And I'm like, that's freaking Dennis.
You know what? I think people like of our generation that we loved as kids, this new generation is clueless.
They don't give a damn.
Know. Unless it's like, I mean, I would be scared to think that if like Michael Jordan starts dropping off the map with the new generation, they need to be taught. Because there's some people like they only know what's current. So the people that are now, like say they were super successful in the 90s and they've maintained a career that's fruitful. Maybe they have businesses, so they're not hurting for money, but they're like just not at the forefront of page 6 every day. Yeah. That's a nice place to be, I would think.
100%.
But these new kids, they don't know.
Yeah.
How many new kids know like Elle McPherson or models from the 90s?
Yeah.
They don't know.
No.
They know what?
Because they know the Instagram people that's not even
That
legitimately.
haven't even done anything. Like, if you walked the runway in the 90s, you're a real supermodel, like the Tyra Banks and earlier.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, and those people will walk past them, wouldn't even recognize them today.
Yeah. I've done it. I've had people say, you know who that was?
Well, see,
I loved that person.
See, I go through that now with the new, right? Because it's like, oh, this is just a girl who has 3 million on Instagram, that she just has a really big butt, and that's how people know her.
No talent.
I'm at Fashion Week, and they like, oh my gosh, she's walking the runway. Who is that? I didn't see her at Paris Fashion Week. They're like, oh man, she's got this amount on TikTok. And I look like the old guy that's clueless of what's going on now, because I'm like, I'm from the era when you got famous over a skill set.
Yeah. That I think ties back to personal branding.
Yeah.
I have a skill set. That, like, I think the way you market that is totally different than I got a big booty.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can be famous for anything now. Anything back in the day, if you was famous, it was a skill set. You were a great singer,
Jim Carrey.
actor.
That's a skill set.
This is a skill set. Well, with the right viral TikTok skit, now you see regular people from social media are comedians now, never done a stand-up show.
So now what if somebody said to you, you know what, for personal branding, I want to be viral, but like, you don't know what they do. They got to know what they do first, right? Like, there are some viral people that I actually kind of respect, because maybe, like, I don't know if you ever saw this one guy. He's always making jokes about these recipes that he sees, and he rhymes with it. So he's like rhyming his words to tell you about this recipe while he's like mixing up the blender and then of course it's like this big amazing, like, this recipe worked and it's delicious.
Okay.
He's freaking famous, but you know what that does though? He parlayed into like a cookie company and like all of these things, like hot sauces. Like now, okay, because this guy had this, what otherwise from us academic people would be like, oh, he's just rhyming while he's pushing the button on the blender.
A critic.
Now everybody loves his humor,
but
he can take his following and monetize it and now own a cookie company.
Yeah. What does viral mean to you?
Oh, well, if I said I want to go viral, I want everybody to see it.
Okay.
But that's only the one half. The other half is, well, I'm going to monetize that.
Okay.
So viral, depending on who you talk to, and it'd be interesting to get your thoughts, because some people say, well, you only need 1,000 true fans that pay you, and you can make a good living, as opposed to 3,000 people that watched and they forgot about you.
I give you some perspective. And I like that you said that, because most people don't. I say, hey, you want to go viral? Nobody ever tells me what the number is. Is 1 million viral? Is 1,000 viral?
At this phase of my life, viral should make me some money. Right. But then there's kids that just want attention, and I'm over the attention. Only if attention translates to growing my vision.
Yeah, if the eyeballs was currency, right? This is perspective. I got signed as a musician by Epic Records at 18.
Mm-hmm.
That deal went bad. I got signed by Universal by 21. Had I put my album out at Universal, which is this big conglomerate, this big machine, for every album I would sell, I would get $1. And albums, I think at the time was $10 for an album, like $9.99 for an album. I would get $0.10 for every album sold.
That's not even 10%. That's like 1%.
So after my situation with Universal, I was like, let me do this independent. Well, I only sold 40,000 copies. Yet, I made $7.99 per album sold.
Right.
Because I had to pay the distributors, Apple and Spotify, and so they took a little percentage. But for me, that's the virality I care about.
Right.
Because I could have sold 1 million at Universal and made less money.
So then what you would have to have done in that situation is maybe that would have made you more visible.
But it didn't translate to
But you'd have to figure out how to make that visibility translate
to money. So that's an extra step I would have had to do. Think about like the groups like TLC that made all this money, had all of these records.
And then what?
And all they got was a RAV4. and was all broke. So they had the eyeballs and the visibility and all of this because the business wasn't right. They made no money. And I always tell people that come to me and say, hey, Barion, I want to be a rapper or a musician. I always ask, why you want to do that? Because I said, every year there's a new face of music. But the people behind the scenes been the same people that been in business 50 years. It's the same executives. It's the same higher-ups. It's a reason they've been there 50 years, but there's a hot new artist every month.
Yeah.
Why not go for those positions instead of trying to be the face?
Because they want the fame. They want to be the front and center.
Screw the fame. As older as I got, I retired from music at 30. The biggest weight lifted off my shoulders. And I'm so happy. People are like, oh, man, that's like you gave up on your dreams. No, it was never the dream. It just happened. I was good at it. I did it. I finally put an album in stores, and I retired. Cool. It's not that I quit. That was never the goal, was to be famous.
That is something that's given me so much perspective. And I'm not saying to anybody who's my client that I'm going to do this, but like there's a point in time where it's like after 25 years, do I like chill with the fitness and do something bigger? Because what's bigger than fitness? I don't know what that looks like. But you either fight to get tons and tons of clients and get tons and tons of visibility, or you do something that impacts people on a bigger scale, which would be the same concept as your people in a role that's never going to change.
That's where
the executive sort of role, as opposed to the front man, always squatting, always showing their damn chicken and broccoli, whatever they're eating. Like that gets so played out. And I'm not being anything disrespectful to rappers or whoever, but how many songs sound the same? Oh, I thought that was Doja Cat. That's really this person. Like, no, like a lot of this, especially with auto-tune, everything sounds the same. I don't know artists. If I know your name, it's probably because like I've seen you on Instagram, as opposed to like, oh, I know that song. I like that song. But it could be the same artist. God, I feel like that's how fitness got.
So it's tough, right?
How many times can you see a squat?
People get on me and when I say there will never be another Whitney Houston, I don't care. They like, what? Like you didn't even give nobody. There will never be another Michael Jackson.
Nope.
I don't care how great of the dancer. There will never.
Sorry,
be.
Usher, we love you, but Michael just Michael.
Because that's the era of skill set, right? There was dedication and hours, and these people sacrificed regular everyday life to perfect and be this great. That we can't even get there no more. Ain't no artist development. There's no, like when I was in music, if you were a music producer, you had to be able to play a minimum 5 instruments. Well, now with Fruity Loops and the right Apple Logic, you can just draw in some notes and
that's it.
Now you're the producer. So the skill set aspect of the expert is gone.
I've seen that with DJs. Like, there's only one DJ that I've loved for like 20 years. That's Tiesto. But like,
they don't know how to use crates. They don't know about playing a record and scratching it.
The new guys, though, I'm like, how is this person famous? He looks like he's 20. He's a baby. But Tiesto's been around 20-something years. I remember seeing him in 2003 in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Wow.
All-nighter with my Red Bull and vodka at the time.
I went to an event here in Miami, and there was a DJ. I'm not going to say her name. But I watched this girl just play a playlist.
Yeah.
And was just back there doing this behind the DJ thing. So I asked her, I was like, hey, do you DJ? She says, no, I don't DJ. I'm a playlist curator.
So am I. You could get me for a lot cheaper. You want to check my Spotify? I remember going to actual, like, I think it might have been a hip-hop night at this one club in Philly at 23 years old. It was old school, like turntables, and it was impressive because everything they were doing, I was like, how they do that?
Skill set.
Like not even skipping a beat, and they know exactly where to put that little needle. And for the
skill set.
That was the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Well, that's the thing that I'm telling people. Like, the day of having a skill set is gone. So if you can get a skill set and master a skill set and perfect and keep honing that skill set, you'll forever be able to make money. But
now the skill set is technology, like how to work the technology. So like in fitness, I shudder to say this, but it's going to come down the pike eventually somehow. If the skill set is managing AI, that means that I don't see you as a person. I got automated things for you.
Yeah.
I'm not really coaching you. I'm a coach in name only, but I'm just mastering AI. Like, if that's where fitness goes, I'm going to have to be like.
Well, I have this argument with people in this entrepreneurship space because they like, hey, Barion, man, you don't do enough automation.
It's okay. I think people do so much automation that it's like so predictable. I'm like, listen, bitch, I know you're not in your DMs.
And this is what tripped me out. This is why I haven't done automation. The reason I haven't done automation is because I had a guy sit on my podcast, interviewed him. The interview was great. We were sending him the reel of him being on the podcast so he could have the context.
Yeah.
So we was just tagging him in it. So it goes to his DM. And then I automatically got put in his funnel.
So now you get everything.
And I'm like, oh, bro, what? How is that? You just left the podcast. We just talked. Why am I automatically getting put into your funnel just because I sent you some assets? And I was like, oh, I will never want that for my brand. Maybe it'll take me longer to get to, but I'd rather it come from me.
I hate to be this person, but I just blocked somebody that I don't know on Instagram because it's somebody trying to get me to do something, some sort of service. Yeah. And I don't know if I was in some automation funnel where it just would go out 3 times a day, every day for the last 6 weeks. Hey, I don't know if you checked my last message. Hey, I just want to, like, listen, if you were human, you would know I read your last message and didn't respond to all 37 of them. So go. I'm like, I'm done. Like, there's a way that I think people can automate to not be cheesy, sleazy, nasty. And then Correct. There's a way that you automate and it's like, you know what? I waited way too long. Message 38, you're blocked. Yeah. I got through 37 and I'm just done. And that's something that I felt like, okay, in entrepreneurship and branding, like, authenticity was something I wanted for my brand. I'll tell you the truth. About the journey, about fitness. Yeah, can you transform and get 6-pack in 12 weeks? It's got to be commensurate with your level of commitment and sacrifice. Is it the healthiest? Probably not long term, but if you said, you know what, I don't really care how long it's going to take because I know that I'm battling some things, but I'll help you through those. So if you're happy with the process and you're learning every day, I have different clients. Some people are like, they've hit their macros like clockwork and whatever. And then there's people that like, you know, I'm really enjoying the journey. So I'm not that coach that's going to have 3,000 fat to shredded testimonials because I'm getting people that like different parts of me, which I thought was wrong because I thought I was branding myself wrong. Well, how come I don't have 300 robots that just do the damn thing and I just give them macros? Because I take the time.
What do you think is the toughest part about you getting clients?
I don't make the ask, like point blank. I don't really make the ask or like go find people that often. Like I don't do that part of the work, which that's a huge thing. If you don't make the ask, the answer is always no.
Of course.
But I think from myself, I didn't commit to one thing and just market the hell out of it. So people probably just don't even know what I do. Even though it's obvious what I do, they probably don't see that enough. Because where I've gone with content was like, well, you know what? As I create more, I could see the message going from, you know what, I'll drop a little bit about supplements and I'll drop a little bit about carbs and ideal what is HIIT cardio, like the entry level, freshman year stuff. But the big picture that I have now is you're not going to do any of that if you're not right. What's going to keep you going? What's a habit that you could commit to? If you said, you know what, I could commit to a 10-minute walk every day. All right, that's where we start. Are you going to get a 6-pack in 3 months? No. Almost guarantee it. But you have to be okay with it. And I would tell my clients now, I said, you know what, I did something. I took December to chill. Gained a little bit of weight. Ate whatever the hell I wanted. But I said to myself, you're taking December to chill. You just came off a bodybuilding stage with the 6-pack and the veins and all that. You know what's going to happen. If you are okay with the response that your body's going to give you by going backwards, so to speak, which is healthy for where my body was, accept it. And it's okay. And I looked at that and I was like, that's essentially the bottom line of the lesson. What was I able to commit to in December? Mobility? Was it a big calorie burner? No. Flexible dieting? Was I going to lose any weight? No. kind of stayed out of the gym a little bit? Was I going to build more muscle? No. So how would I expect? Like, it's managing expectations, and it's kind of like where my content is going now, which is a little nondescript. So to say like, oh, I'm acquiring clients for a specific brand or skill.
Yeah.
No, because I've shifted the brand to be a lot more holistic and be like, look, I could get you to lose weight, but the question is, or not even lose weight, because I mean that's what not everybody wants to lose weight. Maybe some people want to gain muscle. So it's not everybody wants to lose fat. Some people, I've had people say, well, I don't want to lose weight because I like my booty. I just want to have a smaller waist. I'm like, well, let's figure this out, because you still have to eat better.
Yeah.
I can't tell you where you're going to, lose and nip tuck and where you're not going to. But I think for me, going with a little bit more global message of like, who are you? What will you commit to? What are the habits that stopped you? Because if you've been trying this thing for 5, 10, 15 years, that needs to be cleared up. Like, that's going to the place where most people don't want to go.
So do you feel in the space, I feel like I turned this whole
No, I love
around,
this.
Right?
I love this.
Do you feel like in this space that you've been doing this fitness thing for years, your experience, I would consider you the expert based off experience, right? Do you feel like the more you get into where you're trying to niche down, that the shift is not really about fitness, but mindset is more important now?
So I created these pillars. It looks like a pyramid more than like columns. Mindset was the base. Because the way I rationalize it, well, you got to make a decision, and your mindset has to be in a place to say, I'm going to commit to this. So when you're in that mindset, the next part of the pyramid or the next level is your nutrition. Most people, if they're emotional or they're not organized or their mindset isn't like, I'm going to make this work, their nutrition is going to fall by the wayside.
Got it.
That's it. Because people are, especially women, they're emotional. They want their candy. Their period is going to make them eat bread or whatever it is that's out of the ordinary for them. So your mindset's going to set the tone for your choices, and choices in nutrition are 90% of it, I think, where people kind of go crazy. And then the training is supported by your nutrition.
Got it.
So you can't out-train a poor diet. You have to have your nutrition dialed in, and your training will be supported by that. Then it's like, okay, well, now you made a few commitments. You made a commitment to your mindset, your nutrition, your training. Now there's accountability. So a lot of times people go into that pyramid right at accountability, which is fine. So if you said, I'm hiring you for accountability, I got to bring you back here and guide you through those 3, but it's okay. You can move right into accountability, but we got to clear this up still before the peak of the pyramid, which is, like I called it, future goal setting. So you start with your mindset of the goal that you want. You work through these layers of the pyramid, but then eventually you got to come back down. So you got to climb up to climb back down, because if you lost 30 pounds, you're already different.
Yeah.
You don't have the same goal as 12 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, and I had this happen with a client. She was like, wow, I'm like starting to see like my abs or my shoulders. And I caught myself the other day in the gym, and I saw girls that I would always look at and think how good they look, and they look better than me. And she was climbing up and about to come back down the pyramid to set another goal and refix her mindset, because she finally said, they don't look better than me. Okay, that's a new you. Now, what's the new goal? Because every level is a new devil.
Yeah, I agree.
So I feel like now I'm speaking so much more about mindset, because where I'm at in my career, and again, it's not about me. I have to remember it's about the target audience. What do they want to know? Because what I want them to know is, I don't care if I tell you to do squats or burpees. If you do something that you're not doing now, you're going to get a result. But most people's mindset is around fitness is probably what you also see in business. Scattered. They want to do too many things. They can't focus. They don't stay with it long enough. They get discouraged. They quit it. They start something else. That's like having like 12 LLCs but no money.
That's a fact. That's a fact. No, I'm with that.
So I'm like, okay, I think it's a long-winded way to say I think that what prevents me from being like viral or getting like 30,000 inbound DMs is the fact that I like to talk about the things that are actually going to move the needle for you, rather than being the booty influencer giving you another protein cookie recipe. If I got to do that, it's still something that's valuable.
Yeah.
But are you going to eat that protein cookie every day and not eat the McDonald's?
Oh,
so it's like,
but
is it value?
In personal branding, it's the same thing, right? People think I'm coming in to make them, I wouldn't say famous, but more eyeballs on whatever it is, their service, their product, whatever.
That's different. That's traffic.
But then when I get into the working on this personal branding thing, I'm going back to Well, why didn't you want to be on camera? Oh, you gained 20 pounds since college. So this personal branding thing, I've turned into like a therapist.
That's how fitness is.
There you go.
Because if I have a client that I worked with before that I knew from the first conversation, it was only a matter of time. It wasn't like, will she work with me? And it was like in a when, not an if. But what we were navigating is all the issues that people have, like, well, money, time, I'm going on vacation, I have this expense, we're redoing the bathroom, like all these things. I'm like, well, you still got to eat.
Yeah.
So what are you going to choose? You still got to sleep.
Yeah.
So are you going to get 3 hours or 8? Like, you still have things that are lifestyle things that you have to do that the person that doesn't want to be on camera because they gained 20 pounds, that's their barrier. Well, the reason why, for example, this person, okay, so we have this working for us in terms of diet, nutrition, digestion, everything's humming a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah.
What made you go and have the beer and pizza and now you want to cry because you don't feel good? Because I would never reprimand you, but I say your body's doing the coaching. Mm-hmm. I can tell you pizza's not ideal for you. Do I want you to feel like pizza's a bad food? No, because in this world we're all sensitive. We can't label things as bad and good.
Yeah.
But this pizza and that beer, that wasn't good for your goals, and clearly it wasn't good for your digestion. So I don't have to give that food a moral compass.
Got it.
But I give it to you as, is it going to work for you? Because if you're on the toilet the next day, regretting life, and you only have 3 pieces of pizza and 3 beers, why do I have to add insult to that?
Yeah. Do you get to a point where it has clicked for you that the content you create can't be about you?
Yeah, I've known that, but I feel like I'm selfish. I'm like, I want you to know this. Yeah. But you know what? I think maybe there's a ratio. Maybe it's like 1 in every 15 or something. Because there are people that say, well, you have to show who you are, show that you have a dog, talk about how you're Italian from South Philly. Like, yeah. But is it that important? I don't know. Some people would DM me like, oh, go Birds. Right. There would be something, but like, that's more for, I think, what do you call it? Like camaraderie, like building a rapport. Yeah. That's not necessarily monetizable. I have to make an ask.
Of course.
Which that's what I'm not doing.
We're going to get there.
Oh, my God. This was awesome. Do you have any, like, last words? It was like the 1-2 punch to tell people, like, before we end.
Whether it is starting a new job or whatever, don't let those fears that finding excuses and reasons stop you from starting, because I feel like that's it. My mom calls me with great ideas all the time. She ain't started one. Not one. She was like going to Goodwill and finding old furniture and restaining it and adding new hardware and making beautiful new pieces. I'm like, oh, man, you got yourself a little niche. You should double down on that. Start locally in your neighborhood and sell some of those pieces. Oh, Barion, that's a great idea. Ain't sold one piece, ain't bought another piece of furniture. So
that's easy. She could do Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp, and that stuff will go.
I tell people, if you just start, small wins build momentum. So if you celebrate just the small wins, you know what? I bought the domain name for that thing that I wanted to start. That counts. Celebrate that. Celebrate the small wins, but start.
Yeah.
Can't be just forever a fan in the bleachers watching the game. Get in the game.
This is why I love talking about business on an otherwise like fitness background, because it's the same thing. Just go for that walk. Just switch out that soda for a diet or a diet for a water. Yeah. Just eat one less Oreo.
I feel like
just start.
Fitness people should always be the best entrepreneurs.
Oh, it's been so hard because I call it nerdy. Yeah. The never-ending, relentless distractions. Like, I'm super nerdy.
Fitness people and athletes should make the best entrepreneurs, because the stuff that they're really good at when it comes to discipline and
that's what Gary Vee told me
all the time.
And I'm like, well, in theory, you're right, but where I'm nerdy, I related to that client that you talked about. If I'm not at tip-top peak shape, which is so hard to maintain, by the way, I'm just being honest. Yeah. It's hard. It's homework. Yeah. Then I feel like I shouldn't be on camera. I can't do my stupid Instagram, what do you call those people? the influencer marketing with the ab shots and the perfect booty. But that's not really what everybody wants. It's nice to look at.
Yeah.
Are you monetizing your 1.5 million and your perfect booty and your abs?
So is that fear of judgment?
Fear of judgment. Well, I judge myself all the time. So
No, I'm
for
just
sure.
saying why you said you wouldn't get on the camera when you're not in.
Well, I get on the camera anyway, but like to say if I'm gonna do like fitness reels
Yeah.
when I'm not in tip top shape, I'd be like, oh God, what outfit can I wear that hides this little extra 2-3 pounds? Or
But
whatever
that's
it
why I'm
is.
asking. Why does that matter? Is that the fear of judgment?
No, because no one cares. When I'm thick, this goes you're a guy. When I'm thick, I get more attention. I'm like, stop! I don't want the attention when I'm thick because then you're gonna make me continue to eat the cookies. Like I understand that. I get it when I'm super freakish shredded because it's just weird and rare.
Okay.
And when I'm thick, it's like, oh, desirable. In the middle, when I'm happiest, which is hard to maintain than just being chill with the food, I'm like, I don't get any compliments. Just looking like an athlete with a little bit of ab lines and some shape, I don't get the compliments, but I get it when I'm thick, big booty Judy, and when I'm shredded, veined freak. I'm like, this is such a mental, it's a mental game. So I think I have to be on this end to film fitness content, but I could be a little fluffier if I'm being Yoda behind the desk.
Well, in your transition to pushing a mental narrative, you can be in the middle and won't have to worry about that, right?
Yeah. Well, in the middle, it's like the fighting weight. You look like you're ready to go if you have another 8 weeks, and you look like you kind of enjoy some tacos here and there.
Love it.
But currently, I've been enjoying a little bit too many taquitos,
I love it.
cheese, and cookies.
I love it.
But this is so valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
coming
This was
out.
easy.
We're gonna have lots of great content coming out about this. And you guys watching, if you have any questions for Mr. Barion McQueen here, we'll tag him in the podcast. You're pretty responsive on Instagram,
Yes,
so
I
that's the
am.
best place.
That's it.
Best place to contact if you have questions, or if you're like, that guy's dope. He's gonna help me build a personal brand. Feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions for me or topics or people or things that you want to hear about, drop it in my DMs or in my email. We are done. Peace.